Brandon Vance sneered. We're going in a different direction, and in that instant, a cold fire ignited within me. He had just made the biggest mistake of his entire miserable career. You see, I'm Ethan Cole. And I wasn't just some suit warming a chair at Veltri Dynamics. Hell no. I was employee number 8. Employee number 8. Think about that. I was there when Veltri Dynamics was just a couple of foldable tables and a shared coffee pot in a dusty, cramped warehouse that smelled faintly of old tires and even older dreams. We weren't chasing quarterly reports back then, we were chasing a vision, fueled by cheap pizza and the kind of wild hope you only have when you're building something from the ground up, with your own damn hands. My rise in that company, the deals I closed, the respect I'd earned, none of it came from some sick PowerPoint presentation or a buzzword light and pitch. All. My bedrock, my secret sauce. It was real, honest-to-God relationships. The kind you can't fake, the kind that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet, no matter how fancy the software. Take Kevin. My biggest client, year after year. Kevin wasn't client ID 47B from Sector Gamma. Kevin was my old college roommate. I remembered him freaking out over finals, surviving on instant ramen at 2 in the morning, and sketching out his dream tech company on a stained napkin. So, when he finally launched that company, who was right there beside him, not as some vulture salesman, but as a friend, figuring out how Veltri could actually, genuinely help him soar. That was me. We'd map out strategies over lukewarm beers, celebrating small wins like they were championships, not in some sterile, soulless boardroom. His success? Man, it felt like my success. Because in a way, it asterisk was asterisk. Then there was Marcus. Brilliant, passionate guy, but his startup was hanging on by a thread when I first met him. The banks wouldn't even look at him. Other suppliers? They saw him as a bad bet, too much of a risk. But I saw the fire in his eyes, the sheer genius in what he was trying to build. I put my own reputation on the line for him, went to bat with my own bosses, convinced them to take a chance. We structured a deal that wasn't just about Veltri's bottom line, it was about giving Marcus a fighting chance. I didn't just sell him a service, I helped him lay the foundation for his dream, brick by painstaking brick. Just numbers on a page. Brandon would probably sneer if he even bothered to learn their names. He wouldn't get it. Not in a million freaking years. And then asterisk he asterisk waltzed in. Brandon Vance. Mr. Fancy MBA, Mr. Let's Optimize for Maximum Synergy, Mr. Soulless freaking magics himself. Suddenly, all those years I'd spent building genuine trust, nurturing these vital connections, they were just inefficient. Antiquated. He'd stare at his spreadsheets, his eyes cold and distant, glazing right over the names, the stories, the actual living, breathing human beings behind those revenue figures. Kevin, Marcus, dozens more to Brandon, they were just data points, interchangeable cogs in his perfectly impersonal machine. He wanted to streamline client outreach, implement standardized communication protocols. Fancy corporate jargon for treat everyone like they're disposable and don't actually matter. It made my blood boil, just listening to him lay out his grand, sterile plans. Did he really think he could build a lasting empire on canned emails and forced, plastic smiles? Asterisk these are my friends, asterisk I'd think, biting my tongue so hard I could taste blood. Asterisk this isn't just business, this is like family, almost. Asterisk he never understood, not for a second, that the deep loyalty I'd cultivated wasn't just asterisk to asterisk Veltri Dynamics, it was asterisk because of asterisk the old Veltri, the one that actually valued people, the one that understood connection. He saw my methods as too personal, too time-consuming. I saw his as empty, transactional, a surefire way to alienate the very people who put us on the map in the first place. He just couldn't see past the damn bottom line to the lifeline of human connection, the trust that actually asterisk drove asterisk that bottom line. Those weren't just accounts to me, they were partnerships, forged in mutual respect, late-night problem-solving calls, and a shared belief in what we could build together. And that, a fundamental, arrogant misunderstanding of what truly mattered, what truly built something real and lasting, that was where Brandon's catastrophic downfall and my long-awaited revenge really began to take shape. First official strategy memo from Brandon landed in my inbox like a lead weight. Client engagement optimization protocol, it blared in some hideous corporate-proof font. My stomach churned just reading the subject line. It was exactly what I feared, but somehow worse. Page after page of psychobabble, talking about leveraging templated outreach for enhanced efficiency and implementing mandatory quarterly touchpoint quotas. Quotas. For relationships. He wanted us to treat lifelong partners like cold calls, hitting them with canned scripts that sounded like they were written by a robot with a thesaurus addiction. I remember storming into his glass, walled office space that used to be a collaborative meeting room before he claimed it as his personal fishbowl. Brandon, I started, trying to keep my voice even. This isn't how we do things. This isn't Veltri. Our clients, they're not just numbers. You can't optimize trust for the damn script. He barely looked up from his triple monitor setup, just gave this little dismissive wave. Ethan, with all due respect, your old ways are charming, but they're not scalable. We're playing in the big leagues now. This is about growth, aggressive growth. Sentimentality doesn't show up on the P&L. Sentimentality. My jaw tightened. Asterisk sentimentality. Asterisk, was that what he called years of loyalty, of mutual respect, of going the extra mile because you genuinely gave a damn? These sentimental relationships, Brandon, are the bedrock of this company. I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. You start treating them like cogs, and they'll walk, and they'll take their business with them. He finally swiveled in his ergonomic throne, a smug little smile playing on his lips. That's where you're wrong, Ethan. They're locked in. Contracts. Dependencies. Besides, a little churn is healthy. Makes room for new blood, clients more aligned with our new, dynamic approach. I walked out of there feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. He didn't get it. He refused to get it. It wasn't just about the contracts, it was about the people. The warnings started trickling in soon after. Scott Henderson, CEO of a logistics firm I'd brought on board 5 years prior, a guy I'd helped navigate a near bankruptcy, called me, his voice tight. Ethan, what in the Sam hell is going on over there? I got this form letter about synergistic re-engagement, sounded like a damn alien wrote it, and some kid, barely out of college, called me trying to upsell me on services we don't need, couldn't even pronounce my company name right. This isn't the Veltri I signed up with, buddy. I tried to smooth things over, assure him I was still there, still fighting the good fight. But the truth was, my influence was shrinking faster than an ice cube on a hot griddle. Then Sarah Jenkins, from a rapidly expanding software company I'd nurtured from a 3-person startup, emailed me, CCing Brandon. Subject concerned. She'd been assigned a new client success manager, someone who clearly hadn't read a single line of her company's history with Veltri and was being bombarded with generic check-in emails that felt more like harassment than support. Ethan, she wrote, I've always valued your personal attention and understanding of our unique needs. This new approach is alarming. Brandon's response to her, CCing me, was a masterclass in corporate deflection. All buzzwords, no substance. He saw her concern not as a red flag, but as resistance to his glorious new vision. Internally, I was a wreck. Sleep became a luxury. I'd lie awake, replaying conversations, thinking of Kevin, of Marcus, of all the people I brought into the Veltri fold, feeling like I'd led them into a trap. This wasn't just about my job anymore, it was about my integrity, my relationships. The Veltri I'd helped build, the one that stood for something, was being hollowed out from the inside by this spreadsheet jockey. The axe fell on a Tuesday. Grey, miserable, just like my mood. Brandon called me into his office. No preamble, no pleasantries. Just that same cold, calculating look. Ethan, he said, leaning back, steepling his fingers. We're making some structural realignments. Part of our forward-focused strategy necessitates a shift in personnel. Your role, as it currently exists, is being made redundant. Redundant. After all those years, all that sweat and blood. I wasn't fired. I was made redundant. Like an old piece of office furniture. The cold fury that had been simmering for months threatened to boil over. I wanted to scream, to tell him what a monumental fool he was, how he was single-handedly destroying everything we'd built. But then a strange calm washed over me. This was it. The tipping point. I see, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Your contributions have been noted, he continued, as if reading from a script. HR will walk you through the severance package, standard procedure. I just nodded, stood up, and walked out. No shouting, no scene. Just a quiet, burning resolve solidifying in my chest. He thought he was cutting dead weight. He had no idea he'd just handed me the matches. I hadn't even made it to my car when my personal cell, the one with all my real contacts, started vibrating off the hook. First Kevin. Ethan, man, I just got this bizarre, super formal email from Veltri saying you're no longer with the company. What the hell happened? You okay? Before I could even finish reassuring him, another call came in. Marcus. Ethan, tell me this is some kind of sick joke. That new pencil pusher, Brandon, he just torched his best asset. Are they insane? Then Scott. Then Sarah. One after another, my clients, my friends were calling. Not Veltri's official, sanitized announcement line. They were calling me. Their voices weren't just surprised, they were angry. Worried. Confused. They weren't asking Veltri what was going on. They were asking me. And in that moment, amidst the sting of betrayal, a tiny, wicked spark of an idea began to ignite. Brandon hadn't just made me redundant. He just made himself irrelevant to the very people who mattered most. The raw, stinging anger from those client calls was still thrumming under my skin, a bitter counterpoint to the cold dread of unemployment. It had only been a couple of days since Brandon's smug little redundancy speech, but it felt like a lifetime. I was bouncing between fury and a weird kind of exhilaration. They were calling me. It trusted me. The thought was a small, warm ember in the frozen wasteland of my career prospects. And just as the ember was starting to glow a little brighter, my personal phone, now my only lifeline to the world I knew, rang again. A known number. My stomach did a little flip. Ethan Cole speaking, I answered, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Ethan, it's Olivia Hayes from Hailtorm Solutions. Hailtorm. Asterisk the asterisk Hailtorm. Veltry's biggest, fiercest competitor. My mind raced. Had they heard already? Oh. Olivia, I said, my voice carefully neutral, though my heart was hammering against my ribs like a chat bird. Yeah, hi, she said, her voice crisp, professional, but with an undercurrent of something. Respect. Look, Ethan, I'm not one for beating around the bush. Word travels fast in this industry, especially when a company makes a colossally stupid move. We heard Veltry let you go. A bitter laugh almost escaped me. You could say that. Their loss? Ethan, seriously, your name, it comes up. The work you did building their key accounts, legendary. We've been on the other side of your deals enough times to know what you bring to the table. I could almost hear her smile. So, I'll cut to it. We're expanding our enterprise division. We need someone with your kind of magic with clients. Someone who builds fortresses, not just closes deals. We're talking a senior VP role, Ethan, full autonomy, the resources you need, and frankly, a compensation package that'll make Veltry's look like pocket change. I sank down onto the edge of my couch, the phone pressed hard against my ear. More money, more respect, asterisk total freedom asterisk. It was everything I'd been starved of. Everything Brandon had systematically tried to crush. My mind flashed back to his condescending wave, his talk of sentimentality. This wasn't just a job offer, this was validation on a silver platter. Olivia, I managed, I'm listening. We talked for another 20 minutes. She laid it all at the vision, the team, the culture. It sounded good. Too good. No. It sounded like what Veltry asterisk used asterisk to be before the infection of Brandon Vance took hold. Before the soul of the place got ripped out and replaced with spreadsheets and quotas. Just as I was hanging up with Olivia, feeling a dizzying mix of shock and a fierce, surging hope, my phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID made my blood run cold and hot all at once. Rebecca Shaw. Veltry CEO. The woman who'd stood by, silent, while Brandon torched the place. I let it ring twice, just to savor the moment, then answer, my voice pure ice. Rebecca. Ethan, though, thank God I reached you. Her voice was thin, strained, laced with a panic that was almost delicious. Yeah, I'll admit it. Ethan, listen, we need to talk, urgently. Oh, do we? I said, letting the silence hang for a beat. I thought my role was made what was the word, yes, asterisk redundant asterisk. Please, Ethan, this isn't the time for that, she pleaded, and the desperation was sickeningly satisfying. It's Brandon. These new protocols, they're a disaster. Clients are furious. We've had 3 major accounts threaten to pull out this morning alone. Asterisk your asterisk accounts. Ethan, they're asking for you. They won't talk to anyone else. I could picture her probably pacing her plus office, the one with the panoramic city view, wringing her hands. The irony was so thick, I could have choked on it. And what exactly do you expect me to do about that, Rebecca? Come back, she said, the words tumbling out in a rush. Please. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. I see that now. Name your terms, Ethan. Whatever you want. We can fix this. Asterisk you asterisk can fix this. We need you to smooth things over, to talk to them. My mind flashed to Brandon's smug, dismissive face. Asterisk sentimentality doesn't show up on the P&L. Asterisk but the lack of it sure as hell does, doesn't it? The cold fury I'd suppressed in his office, the quiet resolve I'd walked out with it all coalesced into a diamond-hard certainty. Rebecca, I said, my voice calm, but with an edge that could cook gas. Let me be very clear. You had your chance. You stood by while that asterisk consultant asterisk dismantled years of hard work, insulted my relationships, and treated people who built this company like garbage. You only care now because the numbers are tanking. I took a breath. You didn't value me when I was building your empire. You only seem to value me now that your precious bottom line is bleeding. Funny how that works. A strangled sound came from her end. Ethan, please. It's too little, too late, Rebecca, I said, and the words felt like liberation. I've already found a new home, a place that values what I do, not just when they're backed into a corner. I didn't even wait for her reply. I just ended the call. The silence in my apartment was deafening for a moment, then I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding for months. Veltry wanted me back. They didn't want me asterisk. They wanted a firefighter. They wanted a scapegoat to fix the mess they'd cheered on. But I wasn't their cleanup crew anymore. Olivia Hayes' offer wasn't just a job, it was a life-raft, a weapon, and a declaration. Brandon Vance had handed me the matches, all right. And Rebecca Shaw had just shown me exactly where to strike. I was still riding that wave of righteous satisfaction, the echo of Rebecca's panicked voice, a sweet melody in my ears, when my phone lit up again. An unknown number, but this time, the flip in my stomach was different, a flicker of unease, not excitement. Ethan Cole, I answered. Ethan, it's Marcus Thorne from Invadec. His voice was tight, strained, nothing like his usual booming enthusiasm. Marcus was one of my oldest clients, one of the first guys I brought into the Veltri fold. We'd celebrated company milestones together, our kids had played together. Marcus, hey, what's going on? I asked, I'm not forming in my gut. Going on, Ethan. Veltri's lost its damn mind. I called to give my notice, told them I was following you, like we discussed, loyalty and all that. He let out a harsh laugh. And now they're telling me there's a contractual hold on my data migration, that there are unforeseen technical dependencies that make it impossible to transition services for at least 90 days. 90 days. Ethan will be dead in the water. My blood ran cold. Asterisk unforeseen technical dependencies. Asterisk that was corporate doublespeak for we're screwing you over. What? Marcus, that's insane. Your contract never had anything like that. I negotiated that deal myself. Tell them that, he fumed. This new guy, some junior schmuck Brandon apparently put in charge of client retention, just kept spouting jargon about proprietary architecture. It's a load of crap, Ethan, and you know it. Before I could even process Marcus's news, another call came in. Then another. Scott. Sir. Head in. Each one with a variation of the same story. Veltri was throwing up roadblocks, citing obscure clauses, delaying data transfers, essentially holding their businesses hostage. My initial triumph over Rebecca's desperation cuddled into a sickening dread. This wasn't just incompetence anymore. This was calculated. Just as I was trying to make sense of the sudden, coordinated onslaught, an email notification pinged. It wasn't to my Veltri account that had been nuked, of course. It was to my personal email, one I rarely used for work, but had, years ago, linked as a backup for a few internal Veltri systems. The sender? An admin I barely knew. The subject? FWD, Urgent Client Retention Strategy B, Bounce Directives. My heart hammered. Asterisk B, Bounce Directives. Asterisk Brandon Bounce. With trembling fingers, I opened it. It was a forwarded internal memo, clearly sent to the wrong distribution list, accidentally including my old, dominant personal address. And there it was, in black and white, under Brandon's digital signature, a detail, systematic plan to actively sabotage any key client attempting to leave. Phrases like leverage exist in technical dependencies to create unavoidable delays, implement revised data extraction protocols requiring extended internal review, and emphasize contractual penalties for early termination, regardless of service failures, jumped out at me. There was even a section titled, Managing High-Value Departures Post-Call, with a chillingly specific list of my biggest accounts: Marcus, Scott, Sarah, Kevin, and tailored obstruction tactics for each one. I felt the room spin. This wasn't just a company flailing. This was malicious. This was a deliberate, scorched earth strategy orchestrated by Brandon, likely with Rebecca's desperate, implicit approval to punish clients for their loyalty to *me*. They weren't just trying to stop the bleeding, they were trying to cripple the very people I'd sworn to protect, the relationships I'd built my entire career on. The anger that had been a cold fire before now roared into an inferno. This wasn't about getting one over on Veltri anymore. This was about saving my friends from the monster I had inadvertently helped create. The inferno wasn't just burning, it was forging something new in me. No more cold fire, this was a white-hot resolve. Brandon wanted to play dirty? He wanted to hurt my people, the very bedrock of Veltri's past success. He clearly didn't understand who he was messing with, or more importantly, who the were. I didn't leak that email to the press, though God knows the temptation was there, a wicked little voice whispering for all-out war. No, that would have been Brandon's kind of move, messy, chaotic, a grenade tossed into a crowded room. My strategy had to be cleaner, sharper, like a surgeon's scalpel. I forwarded that damning memo, Brandon's client retention strategy, directly to Marcus, Scott, Sarah, Kevin, and every other client on that meticulously crafted hit list. I attached a simple note, thought you should see what Veltri really thinks about your loyalty, and the lengths they'll go to. Your contracts are solid. I made sure of that, don't let them bully you. The explosion was immediate and, I gotta admit, beautiful in its rageous fury. Armed with irrefutable proof of Veltri's deliberate, calculated malice, my clients didn't just push back, they formed a united front, a damn army. They bombarded Veltri's legal department, CCing industry regulators, and threatening a class action lawsuit that would have not only bled Veltri dry but plastered their disgusting, underhanded tactics across every business journal in the country. They weren't just fighting for their data anymore, they were fighting for principle, for the simple respect they deserved, the respect Veltri had spat on. It didn't take long for the shockwaves to ripple back to me. The news, when it came, was almost anticlimactic in its swiftness. Brandon Vance, the supposed boy genius, the architect of his own spectacular demise, was unceremoniously frog-marched out of Veltri Tower. I let myself picture for a moment that arrogant smirk finally wiped clean off his face, replaced by the stunned, slack-jawed disbelief of a man who'd flown too close to the sun on wings of pure, unadulterated hubris. Good riddance. He'd sowed the wind, and now he was reaping a damn hurricane. Then came the call I almost didn't answer, the caller ID making my lip curl. Rebecca Shaw. Her voice, once strained with manufactured concern, was now hollow, defeated, stripped-bare. "Ethan," she began, the words sounding like it was dragged over broken glass. I made a terrible mistake, the catastrophic one. Brandon is gone. We need you. The board is insistent. I'm prepared to offer you an executive vice president role. Name your terms, anything." I let the silence hang in the air for a long moment, savoring the weight of it, then spoke in desperation on her end. "An EVP role? After they'd treated me like yesterday's garbage. After they'd actively tried to destroy the relationships I'd poured my life and soul into." I thought of her earlier panic, that sharp edge in her voice when clients first started leaving. That was a paper cut compared to this. This was the sound of a ship taking on water fast, the captain finally realizing the guy she'd nonchalantly thrown overboard was the only one who knew how to patch the holes. "Rebecca," I said, my voice calm, steady, devoid of the gloating I felt she expected, the gloating a younger, angrier me might have indulged in. "I appreciate the offer, truly, but my loyalties lie elsewhere now. My clients, the ones you tried to hold hostage with made-up technicalities, are thriving with me at Hailstorm. We're building something new here, something based on the trust you and Brandon so carelessly, so spectacularly, threw away." I didn't need to raise my voice, the quiet finality in my tone was enough. The soft click as I ended the call was one of the most deeply satisfying sounds I'd ever heard. Peace, not just victory. And thrive we did. With my core clients on board, Hailstorm's growth went supernova. Olivia Hayes, true to her word, gave me the autonomy, the resources, and the respect I'd craved, the respect I'd earned. Within 18 months, Asterisk was Asterisk an executive vice president, not a sinking ship desperately trying to bail Walter with a thimble, but at a company that valued integrity as much as innovation, that understood loyalty was a two-way street. Then came the twist that life, in its infinite, beautifully ironic wisdom, delivered right to my doorstep. Hailstorm was in a position to expand aggressively. And what struggling, undervalued, reputationally shredded asset came onto the market at a bargain basement price? Valtteri Dynamics. Beaten down, a pariah in the industry, a hollow shell of its former self. Our acquisition team, knowing my history, brought me in for the final stages of due diligence. Walking back into those Valtteri offices, not as a supplicant, not as an employee, not even as a vengeful ghost, but as part of the conquering force, it was surreal. I saw the raw fear in the eyes of the remaining employees, the ones who hadn't jumped ship, the ones who probably heard the horror stories, likely painted with me as the villain. They were expecting retribution, perhaps a purge. But looking at their anxious, uncertain faces, I didn't feel a shred of triumph over them asterisk. They weren't Brandon, with his cruel smirk. They weren't Rebecca, in her moment of vindictive, corporate panic. They were just people, good people mostly, caught in the toxic crossfire of their leaders' arrogance and incompetence. My first directive, once the ink was dry on the acquisition, a move personally overseen by yours truly, was to ensure every single remaining Valtteri employee was treated with dignity, with fairness, with the profound respect I'd been so blatantly denied. No summary dismissals, no petty power plays. We evaluated, we integrated, we offered packages and positions that were more than generous. It wasn't about rubbing salt in old wounds, or dancing on graves. It was about building something better, even from the ashes of something that had tried to burn me. Looking back now, sometimes from the balcony of my office at Hailstorm, watching the city lights sparkle below, I barely recognized the Ethan Cole who'd walked out of Valtteri that day, that cold fire of injustice simmering deep inside. That fire, it didn't just consume, it refined. It burned away the last of my naivete, the blind, almost childlike loyalty I once had for a corporate logo. It had forged a man who understood, bone deep, that business, real business, the kind that lasts, wasn't about spreadsheets or ruthless tactics or who had the fanciest title. It was about people. It was about trust. It was about integrity, even when, especially when, it was hard. Brandon had tried to break me, to shatter the bonds I'd formed over years of genuine connection. He failed. He and Rebecca, in their desperate, short-sighted, and ultimately self-destructive foul play, had only succeeded in proving what I'd always known deep down but perhaps hadn't fully appreciated until then. Treat people right, build on a foundation of unwavering integrity, and you'll build an empire that no amount of corporate backstabbing, no petty jealousy, no arrogant fool can ever truly tear down. The sweet taste of victory wasn't just in Valtteri's spectacular fall or Brandon's humiliating exit. It was in what rose from those ashes for me, for my clients, and for the undeniable truth that doing right by people asterisk is asterisk the best revenge. That was the real win. They really thought they could just toss me aside, like I was yesterday's garbage, forgetting the empire asterisk I asterisk built for them wasn't just numbers on a page. It was built on loyalty, on trust, things they clearly didn't value until their whole damn world started crumbling. This whole brutal, fiery ordeal, it forged something new in me, yeah, but it also burned away the bullshit. It hammered home a truth so damn powerful, real strength, the kind that lasts. It isn't in a fancy corporate title or some ruthless, backstabbing tactic. No. It's in the unshakable bonds you forge with people, the kind of connections that spreadsheets can't measure and MBAs can't teach. In the end, it stopped being about just getting even. It became about proving that integrity, genuine integrity, asterisk always asterisk wins. That feeling of knowing that the relationships you nurtured, asterisk those asterisk are your real legacy man, that's a victory that settles deep in your bones, a warmth that no amount of corporate chill can ever touch.